No. How are you? Mr. Moore? Paul Federici, nice to meet you.
Hello, nice to meet you.
Good to see you.
How are you tonight?
Good, how are you?
Good. And just as a preface to let you know and let the listening audience, if you will, we've got 9 questions, and there's 4 of us up here. We've got Sergeant Sheehan up here because the chief recused himself from these proceedings for reasons of knowing a family member of one of the candidates, or family members. So in any event, we're going to each ask questions, and we'll hopefully make it as painless as possible, and we'll go from there.
Okay.
And I've got the first 2. So we'll start with question 1. Oh, no, we won't. We'll hold on a second, because Lorraine, trying to make you as nervous as possible, has to go get more the thing for the tape player. So
Don't say anything you don't want on record. Or now is the time to say something. you
no,
don't
we're
want
still on cable access.
Okay.
So I can't.
Then-
I told you not to hire Rosemary Woods. Anyways, for those of you into history. All right. The first question. Tell us something about yourself that makes you believe you stand out amongst the other candidates.
One thing I believe that makes me stand out against the other candidates is my motivation and skills to be a police officer. Since I was a junior in high school, I attended the student trooper program with the Mass State Police, and once I graduated from there, next week I enlisted into the Marine Corps and set my life there for law enforcement. And ever since then, I've been pushing myself to become a police officer full time.
Okay, great. Thank you for your service. Second question from me. What characteristics of the town of East Long Meadow and the police department caused you to apply for this position?
I grew up in this town. I know the police department is it's a fairly big police department for the small town, and I know the officers are very close with the citizens they work around with. They have family in this town, and I would love to be a part of that. I have family in this town. My family goes back 3 generations in this town, so I would love to work in the town that I live in.
Great, thank you.
Hi, I'm Selectman Thorpe. And when did you first become interested in law enforcement? And what about it, and what is it about it that appeals to you?
When I first got interested in law enforcement, it was my junior year of high school when I attended the student trooper program. It showed me all the opportunities that the Mass State Police has, and just being a law enforcement officer in general. And since then, I've just strived to do everything I could to become a law enforcement officer.
Thank you. In your opinion, is it a police officer's job to enforce the law or keep the peace, and why?
I believe it is to enforce the law. Keeping the peace, I understand the question for it, and I believe that if an officer keeps the peace, there still could be times where the law needs to be enforced so people understand what peace is actually needed in the town, in the community.
Hi. Okay, so mine's 3 parts.
Okay.
Pretty easy, though. What kind of community service have you performed? Has any of it been done in East Long Meadow? And please give your participation and the length of time that you were involved.
With the high school in East Long Meadow, I did 40 hours of community service to graduate. I did become an assistant soccer coach for my brother's little league or soccer league. I did that with another student of mine, and we did that for about 40 hours. Some other community service I've done is for the other department I've worked for. We've done CPR classes and child safety restraints for the car seats, putting them in the cars for parents that are either not sure how to do it or just want to make sure it's done right. So.
Thank you. And what do you expect will be the most challenging if you are hired as a police officer?
One of the things I could see being most challenging being a police officer, especially in East Long Meadow, I know a lot of people in the town, and one thing that would really not upset me, but I would have a hard time with maybe is giving a death notice or something from family members with an accident or so. I know, obviously, that rarely happens, but if time came and it was me that had to do it, that would be a hard thing for me to do, since I know a lot of people in the town.
Thank you. Sergeant?
Steve, how will your current or recent work experience help you obtain a position with the East Long Meadow Police Department?
Well, as you know, I work with the Belchertown Police Department, and I've been there for about a year as an auxiliary, and I've rode around with a full-time police officer the whole time, and I've responded to all the calls there, going from police accidents to arrest, and other other services for the town that we do. And I believe I have been a police officer for about a year, and that would help me through the academy and working in the town.
Can you describe a recent work situation that you've had that in hindsight you might have handled differently?
One I could say is I also work at Sears Loss Prevention, and we have different rules and regulations that we have to deal with as the store policy for Sears. And one of them was a male came into the store without a jacket. He selected a jacket off the floor or off the sales floor, went into the fitting room, put it on, and walked out with it on. As policy, it's considered a one-piece fitting room stop, and we're not allowed to stop for that. And for me, he's still breaking the law, and it was over $250, which is also a felony in the state of Mass. So I went ahead and stopped him anyway. I didn't get in trouble at all, but I did technically break the Sears policy for it.
Thanks. What was I saying?
So how would you do it differently?
The way you would have to do it differently is you would have to either have them select more than one item and go into the fitting room and come out with it. That's the only way you can stop. It's considered a one-piece fitting room stop, so.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
That leads me to a whole bunch of questions.
Yeah, I know, I stopped myself, so anyway, it's like, did they thank you? But,
Anyway, the last question from me, and is there anything more you wish to add that we may not have covered?
No, I do have a copy of my resume here and all my certifications. I don't know if you would like to look at it at all, or.
Sure, if you'd like to.
This one.
Certifications are all on the
Okay, so
back
one copy.
copies.
It's up, see it, so then I'll see it after.
All right. Go ahead. All right. Does anyone have anything else that they would like to ask?
Deb, may I?
oh, sure.
Okay, is there anything in your background that you'd like to discuss at this time?
No, I don't have anything in my background that I would feel would come up in conflict with becoming a police officer.
Great. Anyone else?
No?
Very good. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Come in.
Oh, I
Can
don't
we
get a
keep a
chance to
copy,
see
or-
it.
We can keep that.
Yeah, okay, good.
Yeah.
I thought I was having to hurry.
No, no.
Thank you,
Thank
good
you.
luck to
Speed
you.
reading.
And I'm not a speed reader, so.
Commit it to memory.
I'll see it after you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll hold this until.
Yeah, because actually, we've got some more information, and not quite the same resume, but.
So I'll just tuck it here, Angela, and we'll.
Yeah, cool. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, it's better
I
than-
thought I had it
It's better
on
than in the
vibrate.
middle.
Okay.
Everybody ready?
Yes.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Nice to meet you.
How are you doing?
Excellent. Copy of my resume for you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, just to let you know, the way we work this is there's 9 questions, and we each ask 2, and I guess the final one. And Officer Sheehan's up here because, I just demoted you, Doug. Chief Nellis had a personal relationship with a member of one of the families of one of the candidates, so he recused himself. So that's why Dennis is up here. So I will lead off. I've got 2 questions for you. The first one is, tell us something about yourself that makes you believe you stand out amongst the other candidates.
So tell us something about yourself that makes me stand out among other candidates.
Right, well, actually, the other candidate, I guess it would be.
What I think stands out is I had my distinguished military career, my experiences through life. I know Stephen a little bit, the other candidate. A little bit older than him. I've had many hats in my lifetime. Short lifetime so far. But I had many hats, many experiences throughout the life, and I think I can be a great asset to the community as well as the East Long Meadow Police Department.
Okay. All right. What characteristics of the town of East Long Meadow and the police department caused you to apply for this position?
Well, I'm a transplant from the northeast of Massachusetts here, and my wife is from town. I just grew to love the town.
Mm-hmm.
Once I come to visit, when I was dating my wife, fell in love with the town, started working in the area, fell in love with the area, and I just believe that I got to meet and work with some of the policemen over the number of years I've lived here, and I just see how how the tight-knit community they are and how steadfast the police officers are.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. When did you first become interested in law enforcement, and what is it about the job that appeals to you?
I first got interested in law enforcement as a child in the small neighborhood I grew up in, Lawrence. Lawrence is a big city, but the neighborhood we grew up in, there was a lot of police officers that lived in our neighborhood, and they'd always keep an eye out on. It was like a very children-oriented neighborhood, so they always kept an eye out. I grew to admire them for that reason, and as I got older, joined the military, and the military oppresses, sense of security, and maybe do, and maybe to bring the assets I learned in the military out to the civilian life and help the community.
Thank you. Give me just 1 minute. Okay. The next question. In your opinion, is it the police officer's job to enforce the law or to keep the peace? And if so, and why?
In my opinion, it's the police officer's job to keep the peace while enforcing laws. I know some laws are made to be bent a little bit, but there's the gray area in all situations. But I mean, keeping the peace, keeping the safety is the main factor.
Great. I have the next question. It's 3 parts.
Okay.
Thank you.
What kind of community service have you performed? Has any of it been done in East Long Meadow? And please give us your participation and length of time.
As of lately, I haven't had too much community service, but as a member of Phi Theta Kappa, the chapter at Springfield Technical Community College, we've done some tutoring with fellow veterans to help them enhance their careers and pass their courses.
And my second question is, what do you expect will be the most challenging if you are hired as a police officer?
What to expect with the most challenging?
What do you expect will be the most challenging for you if you're hired as a police officer?
The most challenging thing, I think, would have to be, as a police officer, to probably draw the weapon. If I was hired to draw your weapon on a person, as I was taught in the military, if you're pulling your weapon out, you're intended to fire, and that's a scary moment, not just for the police officer, but making sure you're around in a safe environment. The person that you are, asking to comply is, you want his or her safety, but it's demanding the officers and the public safety first.
Thank you.
And how will your current or recent work experience help you obtain a position with the East Long Meadow Police Department?
Currently, I've been working with at Meadowbrook Farm in town, and I was employed by the DPW in town, so I get to know the town fairly well, all the streets, how the town operates.
And, just used to, I got used to how the town operates, in those aspects.
And my second question is, describe a recent work situation that you've had that in hindsight you might have handled differently.
Say recent work that I would have changed differently in hindsight. Recently I probably had an argument with John Burney. I know you all know who he is. Just had an argument with him about, working situations. He's always a pusher to get you to work more and more and more. But with my time constraints with the kids, he's always asking to do a little bit more. And I think that some of the other workers overheard our conversation. Maybe it wasn't the right place to do it. I know he doesn't really have an office there, but I think maybe some of the other personnel heard what I was talking about. And, I think that maybe I probably should have pulled him aside, maybe to a different greenhouse or something, and expressed my feelings better there.
Somewhere in private?
Correct.
All right, and is there anything more you wish to add that we may not have covered?
No, there's not, but inside I handed you all a packet of my resume.
Mhm.
You feel free to look forward to my recent work history, all the way up to my military service, detailed information about what I did in the military. And the back few pages are just awards, licenses, and that I've accrued over my career.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions you want to ask?
Just one question. Is there anything that was found in your background investigation that you would like to discuss at this time?
Not that I know of. By the police department's background check?
Mm-hmm. Because that went on both of you, yeah.
Not that I know of.
Not that you know of.
Okay, you had mentioned, and obviously it's the theoretical elephant in the room, but you had mentioned DPW work, and I know you resigned from there. Is there anything that you want to fill us in on in regard to that situation, or?
The situation with the DPW, I probably could have been handled a little bit differently, but the way I took it and my leadership skills, I handled it the way I would have handled it. And again, if it happened that way, I might have changed the reasonings the way I did. But I think that maybe if the other board would have given me a little, maybe interviewed me or questioned me, which no one ever did, then the outcome may have been different.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
Just as a follow-up to that, in retrospect, you were I wasn't sure what you were trying to say as far as if you were presented with this same situation again, would you handle it the same way or differently?
I would have handled it slightly differently. I would have went and talked to the board. Also, the only thing I realized is a couple weeks later they give us a thing in the mail to come in. We're having a hearing about disciplinary hearing, and I didn't realize the severity of the situation at that time. I wish during their investigation we could have been notified or even helped in the situation to help clarify all the errors that I think that I saw in that investigation.
Through the chair.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the situation itself that happened, would you have done anything differently, or would you have done things the same?
I would have done things differently.
And may I, through the chair,
Sure.
could I ask how you would do it differently?
I probably would have been a little more aggressive with my fellow employee about coming forward.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thank you for your service to our country also.
Thank you.
Last question.
All right, now that we have the information on both candidates, I think maybe another 5-minute recess is in order to collect our thoughts, but not discuss it. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I know what it's called. Resume?
The resume
Yeah.
and the...
There you go. All right, I can make a motion for a 5-minute recess.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we are back in open session. Obviously, we have a task ahead of us to choose a candidate for the police department. I want to open it up to any questions or comments from the board before we proceed. Does anyone have any comments they want to make? Questions? No?
Just discussions.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay. We did have two candidates that were before us this evening, and it's nice to have a choice. Both of them have some positive things to be said about each of them, and this is not going to be so easy.
It never is. I
Yeah.
can tell you that from doing this for 4 years. There's always
Yeah.
good candidates, so.
Yeah.
Anything else? Anyone else want to add anything? Does anyone have a motion to approve any of the candidates?
Make a motion to approve Stephen Moore.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Now, I have to explain that, due to civil service requirements, we have to put on record our thoughts on why we are choosing this candidate over the other candidate, because the other candidate was actually listed higher on the list. So if you want, I'll begin. I actually thought both candidates had some good qualifications. I thought Mr. Moore was more qualified, first of all, working for Belchertown Police Department as an auxiliary police officer. I thought his background, you know, although they both had good positive characteristics, I thought Mr. Moore shone a little brighter in that regard. Also, in regard to the other candidate, there was an incident that happened in town, and the answers to the questions that were presented in regard to that incident, as far as handling that incident differently, didn't really, to my satisfaction, they didn't answer the question the way I would have wanted them answered. As far as what occurred, it occurred at a time when the town was in severe stress. It had to do with, I believe, a generator at the DPW, and it was an unfortunate incident. But I think that your first, this is my opinion as one of my reasons for doing this, I think your first, you have to go to your leader first, your boss. So you have to, if there's an incident in a place with a fellow employee and the boss, your first responsibility is to your boss. So that's one of the reasons why that answer wasn't satisfactory to me. So I just wanted to put that on record. Once again, they're both had good qualities, but that's just my personal opinion.
Thank you. I will step in if that's okay, Selectman Thorpe.
Yes.
I was most impressed with Mr. Moore in that, you know, he recognized that as a junior in high school, after participating in the state trooper program, as a junior in high school, that's what he wanted to do. And from that moment on, that's all he's strived for, being in the Marine Corps, and then just nothing else has been in his sight but being a police officer, and going to the academy, and even for the last year shadowing a police officer in Belchertown. So his commitment to the profession, to me, was overwhelming, and I greatly appreciated his comments on that. I agree that both candidates had some good qualities, but will reiterate Selectman Federici. My concern for the other candidate was that, you know, there is a chain of command in any business that you work with, whether it be a town or a manufacturer or a retailer. There's a chain of command, there's respect for authority, and there's right and wrong. And I believe that the decision that was made previously was in error, and not to see that error during this interview process provides me with concern and interest in having Mr. Moore be a police officer for the town of East Long Meadow.
With respect to my other board members who have spoken, to some points that I did have as a concern, not repeating everything, the community service did seem to be stronger for the candidate Moore. I do have some concerns with the incident that did happen during the storm. However, I am a person of giving somebody a second opportunity. I too would have liked to have heard him say that he would have went to the supervisor, and we didn't hear that, unfortunately. Looking at Mr. Moore's record and his accommodations, if I can, am I allowed to go through those and list them? Do you have those, Deb? It clearly demonstrates to me that he is very interested in becoming a police officer. He's got the Department of State Police Certificate of Achievement Award. He's got Municipal Police Training Committee Award that he received. He also had started training for suicide prevention, and that's also with the Municipal Police Training Committee. He's been to stabilization field sobriety testing. He's been trained in that and received a certificate. And there are several more here with public safety and also his Marine Corps. And then when you compare the two, there is a sizable difference in the amount of preparedness that Mr. Moore has compared to the other candidate. And that is why I voted for Mr. Moore.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for your input. Is there any further comments anyone wants to make? All in favor of Mr. Moore becoming our next police officer?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next,